Chapter 2. The Grateful Dead. Back in 1995. I acquired a Ford Ranger. It was in the color of polo green. My father had co-signed for the vehicle, so I can afford the payments. I still remember the payment amount. The payments were $365 a month, financed for 6 years. During this time, I was working for the city of Charlotte. I was working on a traffic light crew, installing detector loops in the asphalt. So when a vehicle would pull up over that loop, it would trigger the signal to go from red to green. Working for the city of Charlotte was a decent job, but it paid poorly. The benefits were great, but I couldn't survive on benefits alone. I needed to make more money. So, I got in touch with another employee that worked for the city of Charlotte. And he told me that there was a parking crew that worked for the Coliseum, in Charlotte, North Carolina, along with other venues in the surrounding area. I asked him if I could work for that crew to make some extra money. Now that I had a truck payment, I needed this second job. So, I applied for the parking crew position, and they hired me. So now, I was working my daytime job, and working my second job, with the parking crew. I was informed later on, after I had been working there for a while, that the Grateful Dead were scheduled to perform, for a 2-night performance. I requested to have a couple of days off, from my day job, so I could work this event. I never was a huge fan of the Grateful Dead, but I respected what they had accomplished as artists. I got to the Coliseum at 10:30 that morning. The front entrance of the main parking lot had iron gates that were closed. The amount of cars that were lined up the road waiting to get into the parking lot was mind-boggling to say the least. When the gates were opened, all of the traffic started to flow into the parking lot. Within minutes, people were congregating with other people. Laughing, hugging, exchanging kind words here and there. I was really shocked at how calm people were, but at the same time, I felt like I was transported back in time. But, there was this one woman in particular. When she got out of her car, she was walking across the parking lot. She was very attractive. And she was wearing a see-through netted shirt. She might as well had not been wearing anything. And as she walked across the parking lot, she attracted a lot of attention, to say the least. But the one thing that caught my eye, was when she went to go hug this guy, she had raised her arms up in the air, and I saw that she had more hair under her arms, than I did. That was a very disturbing sight. A few minutes later, I looked across the way. Across from the parking lot. There was a retention pond, that was just filled with dirty rainwater. There were about 15 people in that retention pond that were bathing. And they were yelling, shouting, and laughing. It was almost like they were in some kind of creek or something. The same kind of thing I've seen from footage from Woodstock. But another thing that really blew my mind, was as the traffic was coming into the parking lot, there was this smell that consumed the air. And for the longest time, I couldn't figure out what that smell was. Until another employee on the parking crew walked up to me, and I asked him. I said, "Do you smell that? What is that smell?" And he responded, "You don't know what that is?" I said, "No." He said, "That's body odor." So I found out rather quickly, that deadheads didn't have very good hygiene practices. That's what it seemed like to me at the time. It's 2 days that I'll never forget. There were so many people there, that didn't have tickets. And they couldn't get into the venue. They paid to park, but they couldn't see the show. It was amazing. It was something I would never ever forget. Not long, after that tour was over, Jerry Garcia had passed away. I actually went into the venue after the concert started. Because if you were an employee there, you got to go in and watch the event for free. I walked into the venue, and the place of course, was sold out. And there were people there that were a lot younger than me. This was a whole new generation of deadheads, I guess you could say. And then when the music started, everybody started to do that flower dance. I stood there for maybe a minute. And I saw enough. I turned around and walked back out of the venue. It was interesting to say the least. So I guess in hindsight, you can say, I actually saw the Grateful Dead perform, even though if it was for only 60 seconds.